Okay, peeps. Every part of the handshake you're about to witness is inspired by a different country that we've lived in. Oh
Oh,
my
that
God,
was
that was
funny.
bad.
What is
So as you can see, we've lived in a lot of different countries, Marina and I, and I hope by the end of this video we're gonna share, some of our stories about living abroad, and I hope that it inspires you to take the first step to get out there. So without further ado, who are we? Who are you? Tell us about yourself.
Okay? Well, I'm Marina, and I'm half Spanish, half French, so I'm already like that black sheep that didn't like fit in her own country. I grew up mostly in Spain, in Madrid, but then I have a scholarship and I could move to Korea. No, it's not where I met Ian. Okay, I met him in Paris.
We
Okay. I met him in Paris, but it was later on. But well, I have the chance of taking this scholarship. Going to Korea is one of the best journeys that I have. I learned so much. I loved this experience. So I get the opportunity of working in Paris and going there to work as an international business developer. And of course, the housing there is a little bit more expensive. So I just choose to live in a co-living. And in this co-living was Ian. Yeah, I'll tell you that.
That's right.
But well,
That's right.
now tell us what you were doing in Paris.
What I was doing in Paris, I was born in the United States to Chinese parents, so I think like you, I felt a bit between worlds my whole life. And during the pandemic, I quit my job. I used to work in technology and decided to work on things more creative. And so I ended up in Paris, where we went co-living. The rest is history. And since then, we've moved to Spain. So we lived together in France, obviously. We moved together to Spain,
Okay.
then Taiwan, now Singapore. And who knows where we'll be next. Okay, so for somebody who is thinking about maybe moving abroad themselves, right? In addition to it already being a very scary sort of process and a very overwhelming sort of idea to uproot themselves and leave, they're probably reading now about anti-immigration protests, about this climate of more restrictive visas all around the world. What would you say to somebody who is in that sort of mindset right
Okay, must say that it's very scary, even though that the environment is very like optimistic and positive. It's very scary. I was
already
like crying so much when I went to Korea and crying also when I went to Paris, and I was old already. Yeah, but it's normal to cry about that. It's normal to feel panic a little bit. You are moving to the unknown. You have to see the environment how it is, but in my personal experience, I never have like a negative one. Everybody has been very welcoming, very curious about why I'm there, and wanting to know about my background, my story. And I feel everywhere that I went, I feel very, very like nice.
Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, thank you. Welcome.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between, the news, right, and sort of reality on the ground in a lot of these places. And you hear this from a lot of expats too, right? Is they'll read, oh my God, the UK has been filled with riots and protests this summer.
Yeah, Japan.
And then
Right.
Japan, and then you visit there and you're like, wait, people are incredibly friendly and nice, right? And so I think you have to separate out a bit, what's on the news versus, the actual on the ground reality. But, I will say there is definitely more of an anti-immigration sort of culture and sentiment, especially online. Um, and it is actually very real for people who may not have, economic privileges like we do. I think we've been blessed to have jobs or at least some sort of money when we move abroad. And for people who are seeking asylum or refugees, right, who are dependent on the government when they arrive, they may have a very different experience. So I don't want to discount that, but I do think that there are countries all around the world that are still looking for people, like you out there in
Yeah.
the audience, your specific profile. And there's labor shortages all over the world. There's people who are still very welcoming towards immigrants. So I think, now is just the time to find those countries that are still welcoming, your specific profile. And I think honestly, you'll find
Like nurses, for example, so many
Nurses,
nurses,
doctors,
are needed.
lots of people in tech, finance, consulting. I mean, the list, goes on.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's welcoming environments if you take the time to research it
Yeah.
and look.
Sure.
What would you say is your highest high, while moving around and being abroad?
I'm going to sound like a nerd, okay? But to learn. Like Lita, you have to learn a lot, from like new transfer, like other different type of apps, WeChat, Line, Cow, Talk, very, very different, by the way. In Yeah, you getting like transform yourself in a new environment. So at the end, you feel like such resilient, like you feel stronger. You feel like nothing is going to bother you. That you will learn like, faster.
Adaptable. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is my high. I feel like more secure about myself.
Very good.
Yeah. What about you?
Meeting you, babe.
What a lie. That's a lie.
No, it's not a lie, but it's not a lie. But I think one of the highs of being, for example, in Paris, my first big international move, about a year and a half in, I decided, or I didn't decide, but someone had cut in front of me in line at a lunch place, and it was the first time that I decided to confront somebody in French.
Yeah.
And I feel like for the first, couple months, year really that I was there, I didn't really know the language at all. And so, I didn't really feel comfortable sticking up for myself either in a foreign language. So that first time I was able to do that was like a really proud moment for me. I was like, ah.
Very good with that Parisian accent.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have to have it,
I feel like I arrived
Yeah.
after that.
And that Parisian accent will also make you feel stronger.
It does actually.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
People have a very negative attitude towards Parisians. I think for that, partly for that reason. But when you live there for
Yeah,
a
right.
couple of years
Yeah.
and you sort of have that sort of, don't F around vibe,
Yeah. You
Uh,
develop that with the time and you are able to switch it on and off.
it's very useful. I
It's
would
very,
say.
very useful. Like
For-
it's a tool that for
yeah.
me has helped it a lot,
I agree. I agree. Very useful. Okay, so that's our sort of highs, moments abroad. Plenty of lows, lots of lows. What would you say your lowest low has been?
I think that sometimes, like when you're getting used to the new country, you didn't form well your community. I think that sometimes birthdays, weddings, like Christmas, you miss your family and your hometown friends.
Yeah.
However, I have to say that if you you form well your community in the new place that you are, you will not feel as much of that. However, there's something that has helped me a lot. Letter Loop is not sponsored, but yeah, it
We
was
like it.
Ian
We
that,
really like
that told me, and basically it's like not having like minor conversation in WhatsApp. You just basically each month or each 2 months, whatever you want, you basically like have some questions with your friends, and you have to fill it, and then you can read it, and they are more like deep questions. We can like say it like that.
Yeah.
And
It's a
I
private
think
newsletter.
I felt way more connected like that than even I felt when I was like in my hometown,
Yeah.
because you really know how they are
Yeah.
rather than just like see them and that's it.
Yeah, I think it's a great tool.
Yeah, love it. So that has helped me in that kind. What about you? What it was been like your lowest?
Well, it's about 2 weeks ago. On your birthday, and I got gout. So
In my like Lita has to be a nurse in my birthday.
I had to go around Jakarta,
Yeah.
Indonesia, to
I
pharmacies,
think that only
getting
old
me
people have.
colchicine. Well, we learned actually that's not true.
Yeah,
If you are a young man watching this video, know that if you eat 150 grams of protein a day, supplement creatine, intermittently fast, have a family predisposition to high uric acid, and also are very dehydrated and drink Coca-Cola for the first time in 2 years, you might get a gout flare.
Yeah. So
Public health notice. Okay?
yeah. He was in a wheelchair in the airport, so imagine.
Not good.
Like, not good.
Not good. So highest high, lowest low. Talk to me a bit about how you feel like moving abroad has changed you, better or worse. Just how do you think it's changed you?
You know, you told me something at the beginning of our relationship that really has changed my perspective, and I just was like so surprised. It's about the triangle.
Yes.
Yeah,
Shout out Lindsay from Paris for this analogy.
exactly. So basically, you are in your country, and what you are, if you didn't move abroad, a triangle, like everybody else. Then you move to another country, and they are squares basically. And basically, you are not neither a triangle anymore, neither a square. You start getting things of the squares, but you don't get to be a completely square because you were already a triangle, so you are a circle. Okay? So,
After some years abroad,
yeah,
you don't feel like a triangle, you don't feel like a square, you're a circle. You've got
exactly.
touch points on both, but you don't feel a part of either.
For example, I'm going to say things that I got from every single country, okay? From Spain, I think that I get like the funniness, like the good vibe. I think,
Joking sort of
yeah,
approach to life.
I like to think that I'm funny. I don't know if I'm funny, but I like to think that.
Okay.
Then from French people, I think that I like the food culture, you know, and got some like the Parisian attitude when it's needed to be like that, okay? Then, for example, from Korea, I have all the detail. I'm very detailed and I know how to read between lines. And also in China, I got that, you know, learning how to read between lines. And in Singapore, well, I'm not going to say working culture, okay? Like that, they work too hard. Maybe one day I will be like that, okay? Yeah. How about you?
I think man, moving abroad has like sometimes I think about who I was, 3.5, 4 years ago. And that person feels very distant to me. I feel like
Yeah.
I've changed so much in the past couple of years. And I think I see it in terms of trade-offs, right? From the person I was then to the person I am now. A great example is, you might feel um, sort of like everything in your life becomes stressful and hard when you move to a new country. Your routine is messed up. You have to figure out a new language. Um, and so you've sort of traded, right, a lot of maybe stability and routine for a lot of stress. But then you discover a year later that you've become so good at adapting to stress and that very few things really bother you, deeply anymore. You're more patient, you're more understanding, you're more tolerant, right, of other people and other cultures. And so I don't know, I think it's this gradual process where, you don't wake up one day and feel different, but over many, many years, you kind of, I don't know, you feel a bit more patient, you feel a bit more calm, you feel a bit more adaptable to anything,
Yeah.
have a bit more confidence in your ability to sort of go with the flow no matter where you are.
I feel like also that can, like, it just shows up also when you do trips, you know? Like, you and me are become so much like better to doing a trip and then going back to our routine.
True.
Like
We're like boom, boom, boom,
this, you know,
hitting the daily
before
routine.
I went to a trip, I go back and I just like get super like uncomfortable to just like keep going with my routine, you know?
You need a vacation from the vacation.
Exactly. Now it
No, it's
doesn't
just not
happen,
life.
you know? It's just like super like tranquilo, okay,
Yeah,
you know,
we're back in it.
too far.
Okay, so last question is when someone out there is thinking about moving abroad, okay?
Okay.
Let's say they're at the very start of their journey. Um, what would you recommend their very first step is? Like, how should they go about,
Okay.
navigating the very first step?
Where do you have to, where do you want to go? Like the question is, where do you want to go? That's it. Like, first of all, is where do you see yourself? Of course, like you need to research a little bit. That's why you did that in your platform. Basically,
Go where you wanted tool, check it out.
yeah, it's basically like the tool for knowing where is suitable for you,
Yeah.
depending on the environment, depending on the climate, depending on your job.
Right.
you know, and it's only no, it's not only about countries. I must say that the city vibe is very important. It's not the same. Barcelona, Spain, Sydney, Melbourne. It's not the same. So that's why like it's needed to be seen, but actually it's you that you choose, you know. So that's the first thing that you have to do, choosing.
Yep, you gotta filter by where you want to go, and you maybe you feel overwhelmed because you feel like the entire world, right? You could go. We just went through this. It's like
Yeah.
we could literally live anywhere, but then when you actually start applying the filters, right, of things that are important to you, right, access to good coffee shops, like a place that has a good value system that's aligned with ours, a climate that's not too different from what we're used to,
Expat community.
an expat community. Like you realize that there's actually only a couple regions in the world that's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
There's only a couple regions in the world where you want to live.
That's true.
And then from there, narrowing down the cities, the visa pathways, it all becomes a lot more clear, I think, very quickly. But you heard it here first, folks. You got to figure out where to go.
Yeah.
And that's step one. Always.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, hopefully this has helped at least one of you start taking the first step towards going abroad. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys have a great day.
Bye.